Good morning, everybody. We're back. It's Morning Source on a Monday morning. It feels like a Monday for me. I've got my special guest here, JR. How's it going this morning?
It's good. I agree. It feels like a Monday.
Or Tuesday, or I don't know what day it is.
Yeah, who knows? I'm up early, so it feels like a Monday.
I know. When I mentioned being here at 9 o'clock, he was like, okay.
Hey, I didn't argue. It's an excuse to, get up and get dressed, and that's more than I've done in a while.
I'm getting that feeling with a lot of my friends who are saying they have been wearing the same outfit for 5 days or whatever.
Yeah, I'm guilty. I'm that meme where it's like, it's time to change from my overnight PJs to my daytime PJs. That's me right now. So.
Yeah, so quarantine has been relaxed for you. Is that what you're telling us?
A little bit, definitely relaxed in terms of the schedule because I normally have 4 jobs they're all part-time and seasonal. So I, kind of go in between doing all those things. And so it's been a big change to be at home 24/7. And I've enjoyed that, but I'm an extrovert. So I'm really enjoying getting to interact with somebody this morning outside of my 4 walls. So
there you go. This has kind of been a lifesaver for me because my family was like, stop asking us questions, like leave us alone. I'm like, how was your day? Well, what did you think about that? Oh, was lunch good today or not good? I don't know.
Right. That's hilarious.
Well, let's talk about, you were recently on a show for NBC. It hasn't aired yet. I went back and looked. There's already 3 episodes that have already aired?
There's 3 so far.
Yours getting ready to come up.
Ours, I think, is the 5th. It comes out May 2nd.
May 2nd.
Super excited. First time doing anything like this.
Really? So the show is called Roots Less Traveled. And if people are interested in figuring out where your family came from, this is kind of a little bit like that. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, I think so. It's partnered with Ancestry, who I think everybody knows at this point. And they've done a few shows like this through the years that I'm aware of, but I think they've mainly focused on celebrities. So I thought this was really cool that they're kind of picking average Joes and finding interesting stories. And what makes this one a little more unique is that they're not just, kind of coming to our homes and saying, hey, here's who you're related to, or here's something exciting, in your past. They're actually taking the participants and traveling to whatever location, a historical event or something really cool happened. So for us, that was quite a journey.
Yes, you went out of the country. So tell us about that.
I did. So I've always known that part of my family originates from Cuba. And when we did the first leg of taping for the show, we went out to LA and did kind of the interviews and the kind of surprise of like, and here's where you're going. So I keep saying it was me and my Uncle Al. I had to pick somebody to go on the show with who I am not like super, super close with. And I've always known Uncle Al to be this kind of larger than life personality in our family, but we've never had a super close relationship. And honestly, before we went on the show together, I hadn't seen him in 10 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, first thing we did was meet up in LA to do this. And that it was a really special thing for us to do together. But so we flew out there and we had an idea that we might be going to Cuba, and we were right. So we ended up a few weeks later flying to Cuba and tracing one of our ancestors back there. And it was mind blowing for me for a number of reasons, but probably the biggest of which was that I didn't even have a passport before I got on the show.
Wow.
And I literally they gave me the call to say, hey, we can't tell you where you're going, but you're going to be on the show and you need a passport. And I was like, okay. So I learned what an expedited process for a passport is like.
I was going to say, how did you get that? You had to get that one pretty quick, huh?
I did. I had plenty of time, but it was still one of those things where I was, frantically watching the mailbox to make sure that everything was good.
That's awesome. So you traveled to Cuba. Tell me how you got involved with the show. Like, how did you try out? Did you hear about it? Did someone contact you?
Yeah, randomly, I was on Facebook one night, and I've been trying to distance myself from social media a bit, and especially at that time, I think I was allowing myself just a few minutes a day to be on Facebook, and I just happened to see this ad that was asking about, do you have any questions about your family history or interesting events that have happened that you would like to explore more? And it was like, Ancestry's doing a show, blah, blah, blah. And to be honest, it didn't come from Ancestry's page. It came from what I now know was the production company, or not even the production company, the casting company. And so I was a little hesitant to fill out the form. But because you never know what you're stumbling across on social media.
Right.
And I was like, okay, if they're not going to ask me too many personal things that could, result in a stolen identity, then I'm just going to go for it. So I did. And I told them a couple stories, one of which was that I had always heard my family has some kind of ties to Orange Crush, the soda company.
Oh.
Yeah, had no idea what that was about. And then the other was that I had a relative who owned a bunch of property in Cuba. And we kind of heard an interesting story of how that property was obtained. And so those were the two things that I went in with and filled out the form, really didn't think anything of it beyond that. And then all of a sudden got a call from the producer. It was like, hey, we got your submission and we'd love to hear more about your story. They did let me know on that call that I need to go with another family member. So it was like, start thinking who you want that to be, reach out to them, see if they'd want to be a part of it. And then there was at least 2, maybe 3 FaceTime interviews with casting and then producers, and before we got flown out to LA. But it felt relatively quick at home. From the time that I filled out the form to the time I was literally in LA doing the taping.
So how many days did you spend in Cuba?
I was there for about 3.5 days. We shot for 2, but we got there. We arrived, had about a half a day to kill, filmed for 2 days, and then had about a half a day before we left. So not a lot of time, but an interesting way to be introduced to the country for sure.
Yeah, so I hear that they've opened it up for tourism. Did you see a lot of tourists, or is it still kind of quiet down there?
We did. The first day of shooting, we spent most of our time in Old Havana, which is definitely not a touristy section. But the second day of filming, we were in more of the tourist area, and I was surprised how packed it was. It reminded me almost of walking the streets of New Orleans.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was bustling about quite a bit, and a huge contrast from the touristy section to, where people actually live. It's night and day in terms of the quality of the buildings and the upkeep and all of those things.
Interesting. Well, that's pretty exciting to be on a show, especially for your first time. But you mentioned that you've got a lot of things going on here. That's how I've gotten to know you, one of your many jobs. Tell us about what you do here.
Yeah, I think that might have been one of the other things the show was interested in, because they're like, you have 4 jobs? So yeah, I used to work in the music industry about 10 years ago, and found myself, I had a daughter who's now 14, and really wanted to find a way to create a life where I got to be a larger part of hers. And so I started kind of piecing together things that I love doing. One of which is how I met you, which is BFAB Fitness. So I'm a dance cardio instructor, and I also manage that company now. And we do classes in Franklin every day of the week, or at least we used to before all this happened.
Yeah.
Then also in Williamson County, I'm a part of a company called Franklin Flannels.
I noticed the shirt. I meant to say something earlier, but I was waiting. Yeah.
So we upcycle vintage flannels, and stumbled into that randomly, and I'm so glad I did, because I love the company, I love the people, and I love the shirts. But I'm now a maker, so I help make the shirts, and I also am the assistant to the CEO. Then I work for a company called High Tone Entertainment, which does weddings and events. So I'm their photo booth attendant and kind of a tech assistant.
Which is not a lot happening right now, right?
Exactly, that's pretty much shut down. And speaking of shut down, the fourth job, I'm getting tired just talking about how many jobs I have.
I need a break here.
Right? I fell in love with paddleboarding, stand-up paddleboarding on Percy Priest Lake, and ended up getting a job with Nashville Paddle Company, and am now the manager of that company. So I've been a bit of, instead of telling people I have 4 jobs, I feel like I need to start telling people that I'm like an entrepreneur or a management consultant.
There you
go. Because really I'm an independent contractor who does multiple things. And, right now with the state of the world and the pandemic, like, I'm basically doing nothing. Because as you can imagine, all of those things require, with the exception of flannels, group gatherings. And so we've had to pretty much cease doing any of that. Flannels, of course, is trying to continue with an online sales, and they've switched because too many people aren't spending extra money right now if they don't have to, but they've been creative and are now creating face masks out of flannel, which is pretty cool because it's something different. And every time they load those up on the website, they sell out. But yeah, we've had to get creative, and BFAB has gone completely online now, which is something we've always wanted to do. And this kind of forced us into it. And it's the only company right now out of the 4 that not only has kind of luckily maintained and kept our members or clients happy, but has actually grown as a result of it. So it's been fun in that aspect.
So are you uploading new videos for that all the time? Or do you have, I know you created several that you already have uploaded. Is that continuing to add each week?
Yeah, so we can't film new content right now unless we do it in our homes, but we were lucky enough on the front end to be able to get into the studio and record about 65 routines.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And there's usually somewhere between 17 to 19 in a class. So I've been using those and mixing them up and making new classes out of those 65 songs. So we do 3 dance classes a week online. We also do a yoga sculpt class and a body class, which is strength and conditioning. So some of our clients who used to only come to dance are now actually trying the other classes because, they can do them at home and, and they don't have to worry about trying them out for the first time in person.
Yeah, there you go. And even if you want to do the dance things, you can do it at home and you don't feel self-conscious about doing them in front of other people. And then when you open back up, they'll be ready. They'll know all the routines, right?
Exactly. Well, and as you were saying this before we got on, but everybody's doing TikToks right now. So I kind of feel like we're not quite. I did my very first TikTok right before we had to stop gathering, and it was difficult. Like,
I know. I was watching some with my daughter last night, and I'm like, we can do that one. We can do that one. She's like, no.
I know. I'm like, I've been teaching dance fitness for like 8 years now, but try to make me learn a 10-second snippet of a TikTok, and I'm like, what?
And the timing with the music, you gotta listen to the music. I've learned how you can slow it down really slow, and then you can speed it up. I've not posted anything. If anybody's looking, don't look, because there's nothing posted for me. But I have been having fun. It's my activity at night, and then I'll laugh at all the people like over 40 who are on there. Like, there's like a whole club of people who are over 40 on there, and like, hey, we can join TikTok too. I'm on here. It's because their kids are on there. See, it's really funny. But
yeah, my daughter, who is 14, before all of this happened, I threatened to do a TikTok. She was like, no, don't you dare get on there. Now she's like, let's do them together. And I'm like, no.
Oh, you changed your mind. Well, that's fun. Well, we got to do something to keep ourselves busy so we don't go crazy, and until we can all hang out together again. But it's
Exactly.
great to talk to you today. Tell us again, Roots Less Travel is airing when? May 2nd?
So yeah, you can see it every Saturday morning at 9:30 on NBC. It's part of the More You Know programming. My particular episode is on May 2nd. I'm hoping to do some kind of fun online viewing party, assuming that we're all still stuck in our houses by then.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, May 2nd, 9:30 here locally in Tennessee.
All right. Sounds great. You guys go check it out. Go watch JR's little journey. We can't tell you the whole story, but you'll be able to watch it. All right.
Yes.
Thanks, JR. We'll see you
Thank
soon.
you. All right.
Bye.
Bye.